Today we're going to be demoing Dirty Cops, a game for Scoundrels, a game for 3 to 4 players that takes place between 30 to 45 minutes worth of time. To start off, we have the setup cards. The first player, player 1, the player who received a ticket last, is the lead detective for the game. They receive the lead detective card, and that is placed in front of them. They also receive a player 1 card and player 1 tokens. All players receive a Smythe & Wesson issued firearm that deals 1 point of damage, and an offshore cash vault which is used to store money to keep it safe from other nefarious would-be cops. Players receive $200 starting cash and 6 red cubes of life. There will be 3 players. I will be player 2. In the game, there are 2 types of cards for the players. There are defense cards, which have a purple border and a symbol, a shield symbol in the top left. This card specifically is a defense item, which blocks 2 damage and is then discarded, and is discarded at the end of the crime scene if it hasn't been used. Here we see one of the cops hiding cowardly behind a crate. One of the other type of defense cards are the med pack. This is a defense item card that actually has a cash value, assuming that the card hasn't been used during gameplay. This card specifically heals 1 life and is then discarded. Another type of card for the combat deck is the raid card. Raid cards have an orange border and have a police baton in the top left corner icon. The raid scheme, this one specifically is pepper spray. It targets a criminal, and then that criminal skips their next attack round. It deals 1 damage to that criminal as well. Here we see him crying his little eyes out. Another type of raid card is the meat shield. This is a rather offensive raid card, which allows you to grab a hold of another cop and use them as your personal bodyguard to absorb all the damage that would have been dealt to you for 1 attack round. And the third type of combat card are the attack cards. In this case we have a canine. This is an attack scheme. It is played and immediately occurs. This canine targets a criminal. They lose 1 power and deals 1 damage. All of the attack cards have a red border. Another type of attack card is our gun items. This one specifically has a $200 value. This is for the shotty. It deals 3 damage to a target criminal and is discarded once it's used. Otherwise, you get to hold on to it and potentially sell it, use it for other rounds in the game. The attack cards are signified by the gun icon in the top left corner. The other important type of card in the game are the action cards. Action cards have a yellow border and are signified by the little backstabby icon in the left corner, because these are the backstabby cards in the game. This one is the red card. The target cop with drugs is turned in. They lose half of their drugs rounded up, and up to $300. Here we see the cop being escorted away by another police officer for having guns, having been turned in by her. Another type of an action card is a thief card. This allows you to steal $500 from a target cop. And a halt card. This cancels an action or raid card that was played, basically sticking your hand in the face of another player, telling them no, that's not going to happen. Action cards can be played at any time during the game, and once an action card has been played, someone may play an action card in response to that, and play continues this way until no more cards are in play. So, to start the hand, every player gets 1 defense card, which would normally be dealt face down. For the purpose of this demo, we're going to deal with things face up. So player 1 will get a defense card, player 2 gets a defense card, player 3 gets a defense card. Each player would get a face down raid card as well. Player 1, player 2, and player 3. And each player would get a combat card face down. One combat card, one combat card, one combat card. At this point, the combat deck would be shuffled and then placed face down in a communal area, and the first card turned over, a magnum. Well, that is one less item that can be used to deal with the criminals. This is now the representative of the discard pile. The action cards would then be dealt to players. Each player gets 3 action cards dealt face down. Deal them 3 action cards, 3 action cards, and 3 action cards. The remaining cards of the deck are shuffled and then placed face down in a communal area next to the combat cards. The top card is burned. Well, that's unfortunate. That's one less halt for anybody to have access to. This represents the discard pile for the action cards. At this point, we are ready to move on to the viewing the crime scene. This is the last part of the planning phase. The crime scene is built from this criminal deck. The criminal deck is built beforehand. It's comprised of a group of criminals ranging from punks, thugs, to mid-bosses, and a kingpin, one in each game. The deck is built before the game starts and takes about 2 minutes to set up. It's a quick setup. So we're going to view the crime scene. Turn over 3 cards because we have 3 players. In a 4-player game, we would actually turn over 4 cards for the first crime scene. Once we hit the last card, we see the beginning of the next crime scene, so we know when to stop. The criminals that came out happen to be Tim Parcell. He's the thug of this crime scene. Ashley Cinders, who is the mid-boss for this crime scene, the big bad of this one. And Joey Jojo, who is the little punk runt of this ragtag group of criminals. Each criminal has a set of stats. Joey Jojo here, for example, has 1 point of life, 1 ammo token, 1 drug token, and $100 bill. So we're going to put his materials out in front of him. Since Joey Jojo has $100 bill, we're going to slide that under him. We're going to give him 1 drug token. Drug tokens are worth $200 apiece. 2 of them can be used to gain a point of life in the middle of combat. Let's see, he's also got 1 health. We're going to stick the red cube on him. And he's got 1 attack power, the gray cube here representative of his ammo. Ammo tokens are worth $200 apiece, just like the drug tokens, and 2 of them can be used to deal an extra point of damage in the middle of combat. Joey gets 1. Ashley Cinders here, she is a much tougher culprit than Joey. She's packing $400, which will slide under her card. She has 4 drug tokens on her. She has 2 attack power, so we'll put that on her card. And she has 5 life. She's kind of a bad customer. She also has a special ability where she's going to boost the attack power to both her right and her left. So we're going to give Joey here an extra bonus. And we're going to give Tim over here an extra bonus as well. And lastly, we have Tim. He happens to have $200 on him. Tim's unhappy with his job, decided to become a criminal. He has 1 default attack power, but Ashley makes him a 2, and he's carrying around 2 drugs on him. Each criminal has a specific player that they attack. Joey here is going to attack the lead detective, so we're going to put the lead detective's token underneath him so that everyone can clearly see who he's targeting. Ashley is going to attack the cop with the most ammo, or cop left of lead detective. Because all players start with no extra ammo tokens, we're all at 0, so we're all even that way. So we move to the second clause of her attack ability, which is the cop to the left of lead detective, and that is me. That's super. So I'll be placing my token underneath her. And Tim here, he attacks the cop left of lead detective. He gives +1 power to criminal on his right. The left of lead detective, well, that's bad news for me. So as you see, player 1 has someone targeting him, player 2 unfortunately has 2 targeting him, and player 3 just happens to be very lucky in that he's not having to deal with anyone at the moment. So now we move on to the crime scene phase. Once the criminals have all been set out and their attack indicators played, players draw 1 more card. So we start off with 6 cards in our opening hand, and we draw 1 more. We're able to draw strategically since we know who is going to be attacking who. So player 1 here isn't really worried about combat, so they're just going to draw their 1 action card. Player 2 is under serious threat. 3 damage plus 2 damage, 5 damage coming to me, and I've got 6 health. I need something from the combat pile to help out. And then player 3, not under any threat at all, is just going to go ahead and draw an action card. Now we move on to the crime scene phase. We're able to play any defense or raid cards, starting with the lead detective. They're going to play a med pack. They're not really worried about what's going on here, and no reason to play anything else at the moment, so they're going to set their hand to the side. Player 2 is going to play pepper spray in order to prevent some of the damage coming my way, and is going to pepper spray Tim here. Actually no, we're going to pepper spray Ashley. So to signify that she is unable to attack, we're just going to rotate her sideways, and the pepper spray also deals 1 point of damage to that criminal, so she's going to lose a point of life. Now I only have 2 potential damage coming to me, feeling a little better about that. Happily, I've got a meat shield, so I'm going to target player 3 to be my meat shield, and all damage coming to me is going to go to them instead. They're going to quickly look through their hand, and they're going to try to halt this play by playing their action card. Player 2 quickly looks through their hand, and happily they also have a halt. They're going to halt that halt. Well, the only course of action for player 3 is to be able to have another halt, which they do not. So their halt is halted, and so those are discarded, and player 3 gets to be the meat shield for player 2 and absorb all of that damage. Player moves on to player 3. They're able to play any defense or raid cards. Previously they weren't really concerned about it, but now they're a little worried. They're going to have to play their bulletproof vest. The bulletproof vest has 2 points of health on it, block 2 points of damage. They're also going to play trigger heavy, which allows them to deal their combat damage first. Typically criminals get to attack first, but they're going to run in with guns blazing, being all wild and shooty. At the end of their turn, rather than moving to the criminals attacking, player 3 is going to get to attack. They quickly look through their hand. Well, they do have call for backup, so they're going to do an extra 2 points of damage to one of the criminals. They're going to take out Tim here and do 2 points to him. That gets them 2 ammo tokens, and they get to have his card as a trophy. Player 2 gets their token back. Now player 3 hasn't fired a gun yet. They've just played an attack scheme, which doesn't actually count as using a gun. So they're going to go ahead and use their default gun to do a point of damage somewhere. Strategically, they're going to make a deal with player 1. Hey, if you're able to help work on Ashley here, I'll take out Joey for you so you don't get hit at all. So they're going to take Joey out with their 1 point of damage. They get 2 more ammo tokens. Joey's card as a trophy, and player 1 gets their token back. And the play moves off to the criminals. Criminals get to do their attack now. She's the only one left alive, so she's going to deal 3 damage to player 2. However, it's player 3 that's taking the damage thanks to the meat shield. So they're going to lose their bulletproof vest, which was dealt 2 damage, and then the extra point goes to them, so they lost a point of life. That's the end of the criminal attack round, since Ashley is the only criminal left standing. Now player 1 is going to be able to do their attack as the lead detective. Player 1 looks to their hand, and they've got a shoddy. They're going to play that in front of them, and they had previously made a deal to go ahead and attack Ashley, but now they're not really feeling it. There's really nothing to be gained from wasting their shotgun on Ashley. She's targeting player 2 now, so they're just going to go ahead and use their 1 gun. We're going to turn it sideways to signify it's been used, and they're going to do a point of damage. Well, I had to set up player 2, rather unfortunately. Luckily player 2 has a shoddy as well. Player 1's shotgun gets discarded. Player 2's shoddy. Player 2's shotgun is going to get played. They're going to be able to do 3 damage to Ashley, so they're going to go ahead and do that. Use the gun right away. Deal 3 damage to her. And then they're just going to stick the canine on her to do 1 extra point of damage, and she's going to lose 1 power. 1 point of damage. She loses 1 power. The remaining 2 tokens go to player 2. The player token's removed, and they get Ashley's card as a trophy. At the end of the crime scene phase, each player draws 3 cards prior to moving on to the cleanup phase. If there were more criminals out, players would draw 3 cards, and then we would repeat the defense and raid. Then we would repeat criminals attacking, cops attacking, etc. However, there are no criminals active, and so we're going to draw 3 cards, but suddenly player 3 plays their sneaky card, allowing them to steal 2 drugs and $200 from the crime scene. Player 1 is going to look at their cards. They have nothing to do to stop that. Player 2 played all of their hauled cards, so he's unable to do anything. So player 3 skates away with $200 and 2 drugs without anyone noticing. So then player 1 is going to draw 3 action cards so they can prepare themselves for whatever maliciousness that other players will have. Player 2 is going to draw 3 action cards as well, and player 3 is going to draw 3 action cards. Well, a combat card and 2 action cards. So player 1, as the lead detective, their job is to sort out the loot. They must do so evenly based on count, not by value. So they're going to count up the items that are out in the crime scene. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 items. 10 items of loot. So that means that each player is going to get 3. Lead detective gets to decide what 3 items players get. They're going to take 3 drugs for themselves because these are worth $200 a piece. They're going to give 2 bills and a drug to player 3. And they're going to give 2 bills and a drug to player 2. And then they're going to keep the last one for themselves. They decide where it goes. They feel like it should go to themselves. At this point, we'd have to visit the ER to heal up. Player 3 is the only one that took any damage. He's going to have to spend $200 or use a med pack. He has no med pack in front of him, so it's going to cost him $200, which he will pay to the bank. Now, if player 3 didn't have enough money to heal up, then they actually get to heal up for free. They can't enter the next crime scene unless they've been healed up following the previous crime scene. So, that can actually be a strategic element for players to do, giving them lots of extra cash so that they know they're going to have to burn it in the ER. The next phase, after we've distributed the loot and moved on to the ER, is to sell items. But player 1 is going to take a look and see if there's any malicious things that he can do. Yes, in fact, he is going to try and use the Dope Fiend card. He's going to steal half of target player's drugs, round it up. He's going to target player 3 here and try to steal their stuff. Player 3 looks through his things. No, there's nothing he can do about that. So, player 3 is going to lose 2 of his drugs back to player 1. Now, player 3, however, is going to come over the top of him and try and steal it back. Actually stealing 3, since that would be one more than half. Player 2, however, sees all this going on. He doesn't want 3 drugs going back to player 3, so he's going to quickly interrupt that and play the rat card on player 1. Player 1 has to respond to this. He's getting ratted out for having all those drugs. He quickly looks through his cards. He's got a halt, so he's going to try and halt that rat being played. Player 3 checks his cards. Is there anything he wants to do about that? Not at the moment. Can player 2 stop the halt? No, he cannot. So that's going to go down. Player 1 successfully halts the rat. Both get discarded. Because a rat card was played, even though it wasn't successful, player 1 is going to quickly play Snitches Get Stitches on player 2. Since he ratted him out. This is going to cause player 2 to lose 2 life. This is kind of a big hit to player 2 because now they're going to enter the next crime scene having 1/3 of their life gone. They quickly look through their cards. Nothing they can do to stop that. Bad times for player 2. So player 3 is going to steal those 3 drugs from player 1. And gets discarded. Now we're moving on to the sell phase. So player 1 can choose to sell his med pack, which he's going to choose not to. He wants to keep this around just in case. But he feels like it's a good thing to go ahead and sell his drugs, even though he could use them during combat. He's going to sell those for $200 a piece. We're going to turn those in, and he gets some cash to have on hand. Player 2 has a drug and some ammo tokens. He's going to hold on to his ammo tokens. He's got 2 of them. That's useful for combat. But he's going to go ahead and sell this 1 drug because it's not useful for anything. So he gets $200. And then player 3 is going to sell... they're going to sell all 4 of their drugs. They feel like they need some cash, so they're going to get 2... 4, 6, and $800 for their troubles. And they're going to just sit on their ammo tokens as they are pretty effective for combat use. Player 2, sensing that there's some advantage that he could take to this situation, he's going to go ahead and play the Thief card on player 3 since he's got a big fat stack of cash there. Player 3 is going to go ahead and let that happen. He's going to steal 500. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That gets resolved. But he happens to have a thief card back, so he's just going to steal it straight back from him. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Player 2 is not having a good run of things. Player 1 quickly rifles through his cards. He sees that he's able to tax player 3. He's going to go ahead and do that. And player 3 is now going to have to pay that $500 that he worked to steal back for himself off to the government, where all of our money always goes. Once players are through playing various action cards on themselves, they're able to move off to the vaulting phase. To put money in your vault, you can put $200 and pay $100. So for every $200, you're going to pay $100. So 401. Well, he's got an uneven amount here. You can't put that in the vault and pay the fee at the same time, so that's going to have to stay out there. That's something that could potentially be stolen from another player. Money that's vaulted gets slid under the vault card to signify that it has been in safekeeping. Player 2 is going to check to see how much he could save. He can put all of his in, actually, so he's going to pay $200, put $400 in his vault. And then player 3 looks through his money. $3, $4, $5, $6, and $700. He's gonna play it wild and loose. He's gonna keep all of his money out, and he's gonna try and take more action cards to fight off other players rather than pay the extra fee to safekeep all of his funds. At the end of the turn, players discard down to 7 cards. If they have more, player 1 has 5, so they're going to go ahead and keep their cards, but they can choose to discard one if they want. They're going to discard plant evidence. They don't feel like they've got a good setup for that right now, and it'll be better off for them to draw more cards at the beginning of the turn. Player 2 has 4 cards. He's just going to go ahead and keep what he's got. He likes his hand. And player 3 only has 3 cards. That's a fairly decent hand for him to go ahead and keep. At this point, the lead detective badge gets handed off to the next player, to player 2. Now player 2 is the lead detective for the combat for the next crime scene. And then players will turn over the next crime scene worth of criminals. There'll be an extra criminal, in this case 4, and then they'll go ahead and draw up to their 7-card hand and repeat the entire process all over again, assuming they can survive and stab each other in the back. And that is Dirty Cops. The way you win the game at the very end, once you finish all of the crime scenes, is the player with the highest body count, the most number of criminals taken out, gets a bonus $500. The second place gets a bonus of $300. If there's a tie, it's split evenly, rounded down amongst the tied players. That money, along with whatever money they've been able to gather up through the crime scenes and sock away, gets tallied up, and the player with the most cash is the winner. They are the dirtiest cop, the biggest scoundrel of the game. And that's Dirty Cops. We hope you enjoy it and have fun. We had a whole lot of fun making it, and it's just a game we're really proud of, and we hope you enjoyed as much as we do.